February 9, parking lot at 7-Eleven. Monday morning, an hour before school, I hold the phone at 7-Eleven, truck exhaust belching in my face, watching a terrier trying to mount a shepherd mix behind the ice machine. Should I call? It's juvenile, I know, calling, then hanging up, but I haven't heard Caitlyn's voice in days, only every song on the radio crying her name. Finally, I dig in my pocket for change. Her number is comfortable under my fingers, a no-brainer. Then, her voice. Hello? I twist the receiver above my head and take a sip of my big gulp Mountain Dew. Hello? Is anyone there? A group from school pulls in. I've seen them before, but I doubt they know my name. My friends don't hang at 7-Eleven. Hello? Hello? The line goes dead, and I walk to school. Caitlyn's voice still in my head. That day, lunch hour. I'm actually reduced to eating in the cafeteria, and alone. I try to separate mac and cheese with a spork, unable to eat, though I was hungry a minute before. I think of Caitlyn, the way she sounded this morning. Hearing Caitlyn's voice always helped. The journal. Don't read. Friday morning, I stared into the bathroom mirror. My face was roadkill. I brushed my teeth, wincing at the tenderness inside my mouth, the puffy redness of my cheek. I should have iced it. I went to my father's room and stood in the doorway, waiting for him to glance up from what he was doing. When he finally did, I told him he needed to call the school. Somehow, I said I didn't feel well enough to go. He just nodded. I told him to say I had the flu this time. He started to say something, but I walked away. Now was the only time I could get away with that. Did he ever feel bad? Never bad enough not to do it again. I went back to bed and lay there half an hour or 45 minutes, staring at the ceiling. When I heard the garage door rumble up and down, I paged Caitlyn. Then I waited. She didn't call back. After 5 minutes, I paged her again, 911 this time. Still, no answer. Where was she? Maybe she'd never call back and I'd just drop off the face of the earth. I drifted back to sleep when the telephone finally rang. Where were you? I answered it. It was 10 minutes, Nick. I was in class. I heard voices in the background and looked at my watch. She'd waited until passing time to call. Bitch. I was worried when you didn't show up this morning, she said. I apologized for not chauffeuring her to school. I'm sick, if you care, I said. I knew I sounded pathetic, but I wanted her to be miserable like me, and she didn't sound miserable enough. She said of course she cared, she'd come over later. I told her no, because of course she couldn't see my face. I want to. I don't care if I catch anything. No, I said no. Fine, Nick, be that way. Now she sounded miserable, but not for the right reason, because I'd yelled at her, not because she missed me. You won't go to the game tonight without me, I asked. She didn't answer right away, and I told her never mind, sucking my lip. Go right ahead. It's just everyone will expect me. Go ahead, have fun with everyone. I won't go, okay? Go! I said I wouldn't. Go, you bitch! The background noise had stopped, and I heard Caitlyn gulping back tears. Finally, she said, Don't be mad. I know I sounded selfish, but I thought maybe you'd feel better by tonight. I don't want to go without you. I didn't answer a second. I was a worm. Because I'd been mean to her, because of my face and my father's hands. Because I was a worm. I'm not mad at you, I said, thinking, I need you. But I can't go tonight if I don't want to suit up. Oh, call me again at lunch. I struggled not to add, please. Kat called at lunch and after school, begging to come over both times. I wanted her to come. God, did I want her to, but I couldn't let her. Instead, I told her to page me when she got home. That night she called.
Okay. Not sure why that cut out, but that night she called during the game. When I asked if she missed it, she said, I miss you. I didn't believe her, but I fell asleep with the phone in my hand.
Hallway by Mr. Christie's classroom. Hello. Caitlyn whirls to face me. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't trying to run into Caitlyn. Since I figured out her new class schedule, I've been bugging out a third period history hoping to see her. After 2 weeks, it finally works. Nick, you're supposed to leave me alone. She starts to jog toward class. You're going to have me arrested for talking to you in the hall? I move closer and she stops. She carries a wooden hall pass and wears a pink dress, revealing a veil of freckles from days she forgot sunscreen. No, she says. I forgot my books, all. I rein in the arm that's reaching for her and force my eyes to the floor. I know you didn't plan it, she says, her voice uncertain. She thinks of something else. Did you call Monday? I've been getting hang-ups. What are you saying? I just thought, Caitlyn, you hauled me into court. You had some judge order me not to call you. Chuckling at the absurdity of it. She hasn't left. I move 2 steps closer. The smell of her finesse shampoo calling up stupid memories of watching reruns together after school. Throw the order away, Kat. I have to go. She doesn't move. I'm going to counseling every week. I've changed. I make the big gamble. You feel the same way you always did, don't you? Her face tells me that's true. The hall is dead silent. The big wall clock ticks 9, 20 minutes until the end of class. Her eyes meet mine, and I think I see her hand move toward me. I reach for her. She flinches. Don't, Nick. Don't what? Who's talking to you? No one. Is it Elsa? Saint? They don't know me, Kat. I slide my hand onto her waist, leaning close. She doesn't pull away. Only you know me. You know how I get stressed out, the way things are at home. I never told anyone else, just you. You were the only one who understood. I know. I can feel her breath on my face, blood coursing under my hand, the feel and smell of her sending my own blood rushing to all the same nerve endings. We stare at each other, and I see her giving in to the feelings. Then she turns away, saying, I can't take this. She hurries toward her class. I watch her go. Before she reaches the door, I say, I never loved you, you know. She stops a second in the silent hallway. She lifts her chin and stares at me a long time. Finally, she says, Thanks, Nick. She shakes her head. Thanks for reminding me why I can't be with you. She slips into her classroom. I start to walk the other way. Something on the floor catches my eye. Caitlyn's pen, dropped in her hurry to escape me. I recognize it from the way she bit the cap. I used to hate that, but now I pick the pen up and place it in my mouth, caressing her teeth marks with the tip of my tongue. Later that day. I still have Caitlyn's pen when I pick up my journal at night. I've absolutely done my word count for this week, but now I just want to think about her, remember what it was like to be with her. The journal. You're still not reading this, right? 24 hours into my paternally imposed exile, the doorbell rang. No way could I answer it. My father, either asleep or gone fishing, didn't stir. Rosa's sneakers squeaked on marble below. I heard her tell whoever it was I wasn't home. The next voice was Caitlyn's. She answered in halting Spanish. She was making a B, but only because I did her homework. El está aquí. El automóvil está aquí. She'd seen my car. She must have pushed past Rosa because I heard heels on the stairs, her voice calling my name. I reached for the door, then pulled back. I couldn't let her in. I told you not to come, I said. Caitlyn pounded the door and begged to know why I was acting that way. She rattled the knob, yelling so loud I thought she'd wake my father. Having Caitlyn see him awakened would be worse than bruises. Out of choices, I cracked the door. Caitlyn pushed it the rest of the way open. It slid over carpet with a hiss. I couldn't stop her. She started to form her first word, stopped, lips parted, and stared. I said, I got creamed in practice Thursday. It's no big deal. She nodded, almost accepting this, but then she said, we studied together Thursday night. It wasn't like this. I told her it swelled more later, but she knew I was lying. Someone beat you up. Not likely. February 14th.
Okay, not sure why I did that again. She stared, and I saw her putting it all together. My absence from school, the fact that I hadn't seen anyone since Thursday, and she took my face in her hand. Oh, God, was it your dad? I said no, tried to pull away, but she touched my face, moving her hand to the other side. Her fingers were cool, soft, smoothing my hair, and I remembered what she'd told me at Zach's party about her mother saying she was fat. Could she understand about my father? Finally, I said, he didn't beat me up. We had an argument. He was drinking. And he beat you up. There's no other word for this, Nick. He hit me, okay? Once. I can handle it. He must have hit you pretty hard to I can handle it. She didn't answer. Downstairs, Rosa started the vacuum. Finally, I said, no one else knows. Not Tom, not anyone. You should tell someone. I'm telling you. But I mean a teacher or something. Tell them what? I'm 16 years old and my dad still hits me? It infuriated me to have to whisper. I know they'd say. Butch up, kid. Well, that's what I'm doing. I'd been wrong to tell her. She couldn't understand, but to my surprise, she embraced me, her face sinking down my chest, and nothing hurt. I love you, Caitlyn. The words escaped before I could stop them. Too late to take back or pretend I was joking. I waited for her to recoil. Or maybe she'd say she loved me too. Could she? Please say it, Cat, please. I love you too.
Last place I want to be on Valentine's Day. Kelly examines his boot and throws out the challenge. Say, Tyrone, tell me something. Why do you people always drink orange soda? What's wrong with Coke? The members of Mario's group are slumped in their seats. Kelly looks confused, and if I didn't know him, I'd think it was an honest question. But I do know him. So does Tiny. I had about enough of you, white trash, he yells. Kelly shrugs. I'm just stating a fact. Orange turns you people's tongues a funny color. Your butt's going to be a funny color. You don't zip your lip. Mario comes in saying, What did I tell you about racial slurs, Kelly? And Kelly shuts up. I slip into the seat by Leo's, but he doesn't acknowledge me. I don't care. All week I've dreaded what Mario calls Family Day. I'm planning to say I live with Uncle Henry and Aunt Em and our dog Toto. Scary thing is, people here would believe me. Mario consults his class list. Everyone here? I ain't, Kelly says. Mario crosses a name from the list, saying, Xavier's no longer with us. Where's X-Man? Tiny says, cracking his knuckles. County jail for violating his restraining order. Mario shakes his head. Let that serve as a cautionary tale for you boys. Mario lets that sink in. Then he pulls a chair up to the circle, turns it backward, and sits. Today we'll be talking about families, our parents in particular. What's that got to do with anything? I ask. All part of a generational cycle, Mario says. What happens at home's the cornerstone of your other relationships. So if your daddy beats on you, you'll hit your own kids? Kelly asks. I look at him and he curls his lip. I turn away. Not necessarily, Mario says, but it's a risk factor you have to understand and deal with. Then before anyone can use any stall tactics, he says, Now, who's first? Silence. All eyes on Mario. Usually, when he asks a question, someone will jump in just to get it over with. But knowing one another makes it both easier and harder to talk. And no one's touching this one, especially after what Mario has said about generational cycles. Mario's eyes roll across the circle like a roulette ball. Finally, he stops. He picks his victim. Nick, you live at home. What's your family like? I shrug, feeling my skin tighten around my forehead. All right, I guess. That's descriptive. I try. Try harder. Tell me about your father. He's my hero, I say, then try to swallow. A self-made man living the American dream. I'm quoting one of my father's speeches. Next comes the part about how he came from Greece at 16 and learned English reading the Miami Herald. What's he do? He's an investment banker. Those are the sharks, the guys who buy the companies in trouble then sell them off. Impressive. He must work hard. Mario walks toward me. He ever get stressed out? He's fine, I say, squirming. We get along great. What about when he gets mad? Everyone gets mad sometimes. What's he do then? Not much. Yells sometimes, doesn't everyone? Around the circle, others nod, except Leo, who stares out the window. Do they know I'm lying? A fine relationship, Mario smiles, walking behind me and putting his hands on my chair back. How's he show he loves you, Nick? My stomach tightens, and I remember a long ago Dolphins game with some lawyer and the lawyer's son. My father bought me a jersey, even high-fived when the Finns scored an overtime field goal. For months after, I'd slept in that shirt. I never went again. I say to Mario, we're not into that touchy-feely crap. Sorry to hear that, he says, touching my shoulder. Feels good, sometimes, knowing someone cares. I shrug his hand away. Make you nervous talking about your family? When I don't answer, he says, no one makes fun of anyone here, Nick. What about your mother? I stare ahead. That's easy. I haven't seen her since I was 5. I lean back in my chair. Someone else should talk now. Mario nods, and there's another silence. Beside me, Leo's gaze hasn't left the window. Then Kelly breaks the stillness, pointing at me. My family's about the same as rich boys, I reckon, except my daddy ain't no Mr. Gotbuck's banker. He pulls a sinewy hand through his hair. He raises me and my sisters, though. Got a temper, but we get along most of the time. And the rest of the time, I ask before I realize my lips have moved. Are other people's fathers like mine? Like I said, he's got a temper. Don't hit us or nothing.
Okay, I'll pick up. Mostly just put downs, stuff like that. Don't hurt anyone none. Not once you build up that scar tissue, Mario says. And Kelly nods. That's about right, I guess. Poor babies, Ray, the older guy, says beside me. Their daddies put them down. Watch it, Ray, Mario says. No personal attacks. But that's what's wrong with this country, right here, right there. He points a finger at Kelly. Children rule the house because their parents won't raise a hand. Just withhold TV or put them in the corner. You got it, baby, Kelly says. America, love it or leave it. Don't you burn my flag, you commie Cuban. Ray says, I'm from America too, just not your fast food Disney World America. My parents came here on a raft. Papa broke his back in the fields, leaving me to be a man from when I was 7. When he was away, I got into 2 shares of trouble. But when he came back, he whipped us all into shape, including Mama. That's what kids need, discipline. What I see in this room sickens me. He stops. Below, the train roars by, and I want to protest the injustice of what Ray said, but I don't. No one does, and I wonder if it's because Ray's life is as familiar to them as to me. No way to tell. Beside me, Leo is silent, but his eyes are dark.
Tiny and AJ speak now. AJ saying his father's an all-right guy. His mother's a doormat. To my surprise, Tiny admits being sexually abused by his mother's boyfriend. Through it all, Leo remains motionless, teeth parted, until I wonder if he's sleeping. Finally, he's the only one left. Mario nods at him. Will he refuse? He often does, saying he doesn't have to talk. But now his black eyes seek Ray, and he speaks like the rest of us aren't here. I'm one of those kids you talked about, policeman. Ray flinches when Leo calls him that, and I know why. Ray never told us what he did. Looks pretty bad for a cop to be in a class like this. I live in the Grove, the good part. Drive a nice car, go to a private school, so I've got it made, according to you. And you're right about one thing, policeman. No one lays a hand on me. Ray's eyes could melt glass. Leo doesn't look away. You think you know who I am? Leo demands. My mother married Hector when I was 3, telling us what a good man he was. From the beginning, I heard screaming, lying in bed at night. By the time he started hitting her in front of us, there were 2 more kids, a Mercedes, and my brother and me at Wentworth Academy. Felix and I were twins. He was a few minutes older, but I was bigger, so I was in charge. We shared a room and had a secret language we used in school until they put us in separate classes. Even so, when Felix broke his finger playing ball, my own hand hurt so bad I couldn't write. We weren't identical, though. I looked like my mother. Felix had our father's blue eyes. My mind wanders to Tom, and suddenly I ache for a brother. Beside me, Leo's still talking. Hector had it in for Felix. He used to take me and my half-brother and sister to get McDonald's or whatever, but he'd leave Felix home. I tried to stay home too, but Felix would say, go ahead, I'll just get reamed if you don't. So I'd bring him back whatever I got, candy or toys from birthday parties. One time, I brought back ice cream. It melted, chocolate all over Hector's leather seats. Hector sprung a leak then, screaming, you little bastard, you did this for your shit brother? He drags me to our room. My brother's making a model car, and Hector says, "Hit him." "No," I said, but Hector's by my ear screaming, "You weakling, you turd, I will smash him worse if you don't." And finally, my fist moved without me. I blacked my brother's eye. "This is such crap," Ray yells in my ear. "He's making this up as he goes along." Leo starts toward him, but Mario says, "Simmer down, Ray." He holds up his hand, and when Ray sits, Mario says to Leo, "Go ahead." Leo sits, and I watch him. That was when we were 9. After that, Hector knew how to hurt us. Hector wanted me to like him, but I hated him because of Felix. So if Felix did something wrong, Hector made me beat him up. Or sometimes he made Felix hit me, and he'd scream, "Don't let him beat you, fight back, little girl," like I was his prize rooster. And finally, I hated Felix because he got me in trouble. I stopped playing with him, stopped bringing things home, wouldn't even talk to him at school. I had my own friends. The violence stopped then. Hector had what he wanted. But when we were 12, Felix swallowed a bottle of pills. My mother took him to the doctor, and they made him puke. Sent him home like nothing happened. By then, I hadn't spoken to my twin brother in over a year. Leo stops, running a hand across dry eyes. And Mario says, "You okay to go on?" "You don't have to." "I'm fine," Leo says. I don't want to push you," Mario says. "You aren't," Leo says. "I'm fine." Leo continues, his voice even, like reciting the multiplication table. The day Hector and I were supposed to be partners at his father-son picnic at work, I woke up, feeling sicker than I'd ever felt. 10 minutes later, I look out the bathroom window over the driveway. There's a police car outside. The doorbell rings, and I go downstairs, stand behind Mama. Leo jabs a finger at Ray. "She's talking to one of your kind." He tells her my brother's dead, like he was asking for donations to the police athletic league. I ran back upstairs. I knew Felix was there, but when I got in our room, his bed was made. Even his bear, the brown teddy bear he'd hidden from Hector, was sitting on top of his turned-down blue sheet. He made the bed and walked to the train station. That one right there. Leo gestures toward the window, and we all look out at the elevated train. He pushes his knees forward and rests his elbows on them, looking at us as if he expects us to speak. There's nothing to say. Outside, the train roars by. I watch it, listening to the background music of Leo's voice. At the funeral, I saw my mother pretend to cry, her friends pretending to comfort her. The priest prayed God would spare Felix's soul, and people shook their heads because he'd committed such a grievous sin. I hated them. I hated the ones who sympathized, and I hated the ones who judged. Mostly, though, I hated Felix for being weak. I hoped Father Michael was wrong about his soul being saved. Leo stands and walks to Ray, eyes burning. Ray looks away. "So, that's how spoiled I am, policeman. And you're right. My parents never hit me." We're all silent a moment, hearing the hum of fluorescent lights. Finally, Mario starts to talk, pulling together what we've said, how it affects our other relationships. I want to listen, but I can't stop thinking about Leo's story, even though what Mario says applies to me. Finally, Mario closes his notebook, saying he hopes we'll think about what we discussed. Then he dismisses us. I'm almost out the door when I hear Leo say, "Mesa and I have a date tonight. With any luck, this will be my last day here." "I hope it's not," Mario replies. "That's quite a tale you told. I'd imagine someone with a story like that has a lot of anger stored up." I turn in time to see Leo smile. "Do I look angry?" "You are angry," Mario says. "Only reason you told that story is because you were angry with Ray. You need this group even if you won't admit it." "Well, I'll go on needing it," Leo replies, starting to walk away. Mario stops him. "My Uncle Gustavo used to say, if you're halfway across the lake, it's just as easy to swim forward as swim back." "Don't say," Leo turns. "Tell Uncle Gus I hitched a ride to shore." The following week, Leo isn't there. The journal. Caitlyn hadn't been too hot for me to meet her mother, and one look told me why. Tom and I knocked on the McCourt's pink door, which we'd found by walking up the pink hallway past the pink plastic flamingos, And before you could say acrylic nail, a woman was on us like an obese kid on the last Twinkie. While Caitlyn tried to ease us out the door, her mother gushed about how she'd been longing to meet us, then demanded, "Which one of you adorable creatures is Nick?" "Guess that's me," I said. It should have been pretty obvious since I was holding Kat's hand. Caitlyn was squeezing the life out of mine. Kat's mom looked like Kat, but younger. No, really. Her makeup wasn't to hide age, it was like a whole new face, including painted-in eyelashes. Ripe grapefruit halves peered from a purple crop top, while a denim miniskirt exposed tan legs. A father with a shotgun would have been less threatening. A Doberman would have been less threatening. No such luck. Mrs. McCourt's eyes dissected me, checking off clothes, watch, Nikes, before smiling. "Caitlyn said you were handsome, and she was right." "Thanks, I think." Done with me, Mrs. McCourt turned her ample searchlights on Tom. "And you must be Lacey Carter's boy." She squeezed Tom's biceps. "Your mother and I have spoken extensively about my giving makeovers at the club." Caitlyn said, "We have to go, Mother." Mrs. McCourt told Caitlyn not to embarrass her. She moved still closer to Tom, and Caitlyn tried to get between them. Mrs. McCourt gave Tom's arm another squeeze. "Besides, it's not often we have male visitors. Boys haven't exactly been rioting on your front lawn, have they, Caitlyn?" Finally, Tom mumbled something about needing to pick up his date, and we got away. Getting into the car, I noticed something around Caitlyn's neck, a silver bead chain with charms, trendy and stupid. I fingered it, leaning across the seat to look. "Did your mom give you that?" I asked. Her mom was embarrassing, and so was the necklace. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Just doesn't look like something you'd wear." She touched it. "I got it in the Grove with Peyton. I think it's cute." "You think wrong," I said. "It doesn't go with what you're wearing, and it's totally blue collar. It makes your neck look too short for your body, too." Caitlyn didn't move. "Take it off," I said. "Nick?" Tom's voice from the back seat. "What?" I slammed my arm down on the backrest and faced him. "What is your particular problem?" I turned back to Caitlyn. "I said, take that stupid thing off." "It's all right, Tom." Caitlyn removed the necklace and held it up. "Maybe it doesn't work with this outfit. Peyton chose it." "Last thing you need is to dress like Peyton," I said. Kat hung the chain around the stick shift. We drove a block before I plucked it off and threw it out the window. Cheap metal hit pavement with barely a clink. I put my arm around Kat. She moved away. I pulled her closer. "Don't you want to be close to me? That's what love is all about." Caitlyn didn't respond, but she didn't shy away.